Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Churchill Downs here on Saturday. It's the 29th of June 2024. Gonna look at the stakes races on the program from Churchill, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and also join me next week for my Belmont Derby preview from Aqueduct. I know it's a bit of a contradiction there, Belmont Derby from Aqueduct, but still good weekend of racing there. But it's Stephen Foster Day from Churchill. We'll be looking at races 7 through 12. Let's get to it right now here on the penultimate day of the spring meeting. The 7th race from Churchill, it's the Tepin Stakes, grade 2 event going for a $500,000 purse. Races for 4-year-olds and upwards here. We have a field of 6 horses going 1,700 meters, or a mile 16th on the main track, or excuse me, on the turf course. I love the 2-horse Ottoman fleet here. We'll go 2, 5, 3, 6 in the superfecta. 2, 5, 3, 6 super, top selection 2-horse Ottoman fleet. This 5-year-old gun by See the Stars. Charlie Appleby trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent start came 29 days ago on the 1st Junior Churchill Mouse in the 16th in the grade 2 or grade 3 Arlington Stakes, and the horse won by a length there, and he had a dream trip. He stalked all the way around the race course. When a seam opened, he quickened up nicely, and he got the job done. A very good performance. Refreshing here. Shouldn't be a problem. I think it's his preferred trip. I think he could get the trip to win. His races stateside have been very fast buyer numbers. He got 99, which was his lowest stateside, but 2 back in the Fort Marcy and Aqueduct going a mile and 1/8 on the inner. He ran a massive second place finish by a neck. If he didn't drift in the lane when they had the opening by the turf chute in the final 1/8 of a mile, he probably would have won, but he lost his focus that day. Masterpiece just had the jump on him, but he ran his heart out that day. And then prior to that, in the Earl Sefton at Newmarket, a mile and 1/8 on the Rolling Mile, he won by a length that day. He stalked, he got the lead, and he won under a trot. That was a very easy run. He started so far in the UAE, in Newmarket in the UK, in New York, and in Churchill this year. So he's quite a globetrotter with it being only a couple starts this year. Only 6 months of the year so far. But refreshing here, he could win. Watch out for him. I think the 5-horse here, who is Win for Money, Jose Ortiz is on this one for Mark Cassie, is winning the Mr. Steel at Goldstream on the turf. Wasn't bad at all. Came back with a very strong 102 buyer. Prior to that, he ran the valedictory over the longer trip at Churchill, where he just kind of yielded late. I do think coming back to a mile 16th off of a decent run, he could find a trip to win. I'll use him on the ticket, but Ottoman fleet looks very tough on paper. But to recap my selection for the 7th now from Churchill, it is the Wise Dan. Gonna take the 2-horse Ottoman fleet. Give kudos to the 5-horse Win for the Money. 2, 5, 3, 6 super. 2, 5 in the multi-race. The 8th race from Churchill, it is the Fleur De Lis Stakes. It's a grade 2 event going for a $500,000 purse. Races for fillies, mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 6 horses going 1,800 meters, or a mile and 1/8 on the main track. Gonna take the 4-horse Skyla as a top selection, or Sela as a top selection. I'm gonna go 4, 2, 6, 3 in the superfecta. 4, 2, 6, 3 super. Top selection of 4-horse Sela. This 4-year-old by Tapit. Belmont trains. Javier Castellano comes in from New York to ride this one. The horse's most recent appearance came a month ago on the 1st June here at Churchill, mile 16th in the Shawnee Stakes, and the horse won by 3.5 lengths that day. And from a tracking trip, this horse really flew home clear late. 93 buyer, which is tied 3rd time the horse ran 93 buyer, which is the best of this horse's life. This horse flew home clear late. I thought it was a very strong run. Back here around 2 turns again. Should see a strong pace to close up into. I think this horse could really run a good race. 2 back in optional 80 Derby week here at Churchill, going the 1-turn mile. The horse won by 7 lengths that day, and again from a tracking trip, closed up from nowhere. He really took off clear after not the best beginnings. A very, very strong run for this horse there. And then off the bench of Keelan, a mile 16th in the double dogs there. The horse finished 3rd by 4 3/4 lengths, was just wide and just wasn't getting into it. Has really improved a lot this year, has been training well. I'm going to give this horse on the ticket. I think the 2-horse Shotgun Hottie could win also for Paco Lopez and Cherie DeVoe. Finally got a good race in the Ashland, and on the Ashland, the Laird Point distaff at Pimlico over the mile and 1/8, where he won by 5 3/4 lengths that day. He was a little bit wide, but he won in a trot. That was a very good run late. Prior to that, wide poster in these air, wide poster in the Apple Blossom, and in the Baico, guess what? A wide poster. This horse is finally getting a good poster for the first time in quite a few starts. Facing the big boys here today. She's run good races. I'll give this horse a shot on the ticket. But to recap my selection for the 8th from Churchill now, it's the Fleur De Lis. Gonna take the 4-horse Sila. Give kudos to the 2-horse Shotgun Hottie. 4, 2, 6, 3 super. 4, 2 in the multi-race. The ninth race from Churchill, it's the American Derby. It's going for a purse of $250,000, race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 8 horses going 1,700 meters, or a mile 16th here in the American Derby. Gonna take the 5-horse A Gate Road, 5167 for me in the superfecta. 5167 super, top selection 5-horse A Gate Road. This 3-year-old colt by Quality Road. Top Fletcher Trends, Iratis Jr. gets the mount. Blinkers on. Most recent out came the American Turf here at Churchill, mile 16th on Derby Day, where he finished 6 by 7 lengths that day and was just wide and just never really got going. Back to turf, he just was flat. I think coming here off a little bit more of a bench, not the world's toughest race like the American Derby was, I think he could, or American Turf was, I think he's going to be in a better spot to get the job done here today. Two back, running against the boys, or the dirt boys in the Louisiana Derby, mile 3/16 at the fairground, where he finished 7 by 4.5 lengths that day. He moved a little bit late, but it wasn't anything to call home about, and I just think his preferred surface is turf. He ran massively in the Sam F. Davis Band, No More Time, where again he gained a lot of ground that day. He just missed, but he ran his heart out. A great place in Diana Beach Stakes at Gulfstream, and then in the Breeze Cup juvenile fillies turf race, he ran an okay 5th, where he just had a little bit of a trouble trip from the inside, but early on to start his career, a good place over the Wilson Mile in a main specialweight, came back to win a main specialweight on the turf at the Spa, and came back to win the Pilgrim first time winners quite easily. If he can run those races, he can win against these horses. Refreshing here, I'm going to give him a shot on the ticket. I think the 1-horse Green Light for Jose Ortiz and Rodolfo Prosecco win also. Finally broke the maiden in about 6 weeks ago here at Churchill, going a mile 16th. Broke it by nearly a dozen, 10 1/4 lengths from a tracking trip. She flew home clear. That was a very impressive run. Prior to that, over the mile 16th, around 2 turns at Keeneland for the first time in the main specialweight, finished second by 1 1/4 lengths, had a wide poster, which probably cost him. She stalked, she had the lead, but she kind of yielded late. She just couldn't keep up. It wasn't her day to win, but really improved with that next start. Back here, first-time winners, first-time stakes quality horses. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. You know, she doesn't have to jump up quite a few points to win against these horses, so let's use them here. But to recap my selections now for the 9th from Churchill, it's the American Derby. Going to take the 5-horse at Gate Road. Give kudos to the 1-horse Green Light, 5167 Super, 5-1 in the multi-race. The 10th race from Churchill now, it is the Kelly's Landing Stakes. It's going for a purse of $250,000. Races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 8 horses going 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs here in the Kelly's Landing. Gonna take a shot with the 3-horse Rivet, 3-5-4-6 in the superfecta, 3-5-4-6 super, top selection of 3-horse Rivet. This 4-year colt by Competitive Edge. Steve Asmussen trains. Christian Torres gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came on the lawn here 3 weeks ago at Churchill, 5 furlongs in the Mighty Bow, and he finished 7 by 4.5 lengths that day, and she was just wide, and she just never really got going. I don't think this horse likes the turf. I think back to dirt today, should see a strong pace up in front. I think this horse could go a long way here today. 2 back and option 50 off turf here at Churchill, going 5.5 the 24th of May. He finished 3rd by 5 1/4 lengths that day, and he was with him early on. He kind of hit the wall late, maybe a little bit too quick to that half, but he ran his heart out that day, and the Count Fleet sprint at Oakland over the 6, he finished 4th by 6.5 lengths. Skelly was the next start winner who won that day. This horse just kind of hit the wall that day. Had a decent 3rd in the Whitmore, where he couldn't get there late, but he didn't go down without a fight, and then won an allowance race at Oakland over the 6 in February quite nicely by 2 lengths on the front end with a 99 buyer that could definitely win here. If you look at his 3-year-old form last year, he was always running these sneaky good races. He actually won the Maxfield at Ellis last year on the slop, going 7/8. Came back to run a disappointing race at Saratoga and at Charlestown, but came back to run a very good race in the Mahoning Valley Steel Sprint Stakes they have in November. But if you can run that race today, or like the Maxfield today, he could win. He's trading well. Back to dirt. I'll give him a shot on the ticket. I think the 5-horse Hoist to Gold, from a quick turnaround from the Metropolitan Handicap to Churchill, could get a trip to win. In the Met Mile, he just couldn't catch National Treasure and Post Time, who really were 2 freaky horses. Prior to that, he probably needed the race in the Churchill Down Stakes, and then in the Saudi Cup, he just wasn't staying the trip. I do think back to 6.5 is something he should do well with. He likes this track. He's training well over it. I'll give him a shot here at the 3-1. But to recap my selection for the 10th now from Churchill, it is the Kelly's Landing. I'm going to take the 3-horse Rivet. Give kudos to the 5-horse Hoist to Gold. 3-5. 4-6 super, 3-5 in the multi-race. Let's get to the featured 11th race now from Churchill, which is the Stephen Foster Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 9 horses going 1,800 meters or a mile and eighth here in the Stephen Foster. Last year, Stephen Foster was run at Ellis, if you remember. I know I did. Very exciting race last year. I think Flavian Pratt won the race. I just can't remember with which horse, but I'll remember in a second. I know the horse got retired after that because of injury. Can't speak. It's been a long day, but it was still a good one. I'm going to take the 4-horse Disarm as a top selection here in the Stephen Foster. I'm going to go 4-2-7-1 in the superfecta. 4-2-7-1 super top selection 4-horse Disarm. This 4-year-old colt by Gunrunner. Steve Asmussen trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Horse's most recent out came the 18th of May at Churchill, mile 16th and optional 80. First off the bench, he needed the race. He got the job done. He only had 3 other rivals. He won by 1/4 lengths. He had 85 buyer. It was basically a walk in the park. Coming here, tougher race, training well since the last outing. I'm going to give him another shot. He ran terrific buyers last year to end off his season. He ran a massive second in the Travers with a 103 buyer behind Arcangelo, where he closed up a little bit late that day. Not a bad race. If the race is a mile 5/16, he would have made the race interesting late, but, not a bad race in defeat. Prior to the Jim Dandy and that all-out finish, he just couldn't get there, but he ran his heart out, and then he won the mat win at Ellis on the slop, going quite nicely by a half length, closing up from mid-pack, a very, very good race. Ran last year's Derby, where he ran an okay, decent fourth, nothing bad, nothing to cry about, and then he ran the Lexington last year, ran a decent third behind the First Mission. Refreshing here, second off the bench, should see a stronger pace in front. I think he can get the job done. Don't throw out the 2-horse First Mission for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. He's been pretty perfect. And if you tell me, if you hold a gun to my head right now and say, who's the best horse right now for this Breeders' Cup Classic division, I would say it's First Mission, because he's done everything right so far. He won the Essex Handicap, won the Ali Sheba Derby Day quite nicely with a 106 buyer. His only subpar race was that Pegasus World Cup, which I thought they just asked a little bit too much too soon. He also had a very wide trip, which I don't think he was very suitable at Gulfstream that weekend. I think he wanted to be a little bit closer to pace, and he got nowhere close to the pace. His races on this track haven't been half bad at all. His only defeat came in the Clark Handicap, where he just got caught by Trademark late, but he grinded it out to the wire with a 102 buyer. But he has a lot of forwardly pace. At 6-5, I know it's a short price. He could definitely win. I would use him in the pick 4 here. So watch out for him. But to recap my selection for the 11th now from Churchill, it's the Stephen Foster. Going to take the 4-horse Disarm. Give kudos to the 2-horse First Mission. 4-2-7-1 Super. 4-2 in the multi-race. The nightcap, the 12th race now from Churchill, it is the Tepin Stakes. It's going for a purse $250,000, race for 3-year-old fillies. We have a field of 11 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile here in the Tepin. Not to be mistaken with the Tepin Stakes run at Aqueduct in the fall. Is it for 2-year-olds or something like that? Or is it for 3-year-old fillies also on turf? I can't remember. But my top selection here, I love the 3-horse Catherine Marissa, 3-1-9-5 for me in the superfecta. 3-1-9-5 super. Top selection 3-horse Catherine Marissa. This Rick Dutcher trained 3-year-old filled by American Pharaoh. IRIT's Jr. Rick Dutcher trains IRIT's Jr. gets the mount. Most recently, locally, going a mile and eighth in the allowance race for $127,000. First time older horses. This horse flew home clear late from a stalking trip. This horse is a little bit wide, but went in by 2 lengths with an 82 buyer. Good run. Since the last race, has been training quite nicely on this turf course. Back here, next logical steps, stakes quad of horses. I think this horse could find the trip to win. 2 back at Santa Anita, 6th of April, mile in the main special weight. She won by 1 3/4 lengths that day, and she just kind of stalked all the way around the race course. She couldn't catch him late, but she ran her heart out that day. And then in mid-February at Santa Anita, a mile in the main special weight, she finished 3rd by 1 3/4 lengths. She didn't break so well, and she was just lackadaisical around the race course, but she's really improved a lot since that turf effort. If you look at her 2 previous dirt efforts, they were very subpar, but since coming to the green stuff, she's really improved a lot. She doesn't have to jump up a lot of buyer points to win here. She's drawn well. She has that forwardly pace that does well on this turf course. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. I think the 1-horse Simply in front for Eddie Keneally and Luis Saez can win also. His win in an optional 100 on this turf course off a 2-month bench wasn't bad at all. Winning by 2 lengths from a stupidly wide trip. A very impressive performance. Another wide trip in the Appalachian Stakes at Keelan off the bench. He finished 4th by 4 3/4 lengths, where he had the best beginnings, was stupidly wide, but again, Better post draw, cut upset at 34-1. Not a bad race after all said and done. And then the races up north at Woodbine nearly won the Natalma Stakes as a maiden, where she just couldn't catch the winner who aimed this horse late, but she got down the race course well. Came back to win her breaker maiden at Woodbine on the PETA, and came back to run a disappointing fourth in the Mezzine Stakes at Woodbine in the fall, where she just wasn't comfortable that day, and I thought you saw a little bit tired horse after all those races in succession there. But the two races with the Keneally Barn so far this year hasn't been half bad. Refreshing here at 4-1 finally with a good post draw. I'll give her a shot on the ticket. She could definitely win. But to recount my selections now for the 12th from Churchill, it's the Tepin Stakes. Going to take the 3-horse Catherine Marissa. Give kudos to the 1-horse Simply in front. 3-1-9-5 Super. 3-1 in the multi-race. With that being said, good luck to all. And please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5. Good luck, everybody.